Hi, BWW community. This is Michelle Jackson with you again to talk to another dynamic author from our BWW Facebook page. This is Kimberley Carter Spivey, and she is here to talk about her dynamic book, which is called Bloom. Love that. How to Get from Good Enough to a Life You Love. Now, Kimberly's going to talk about herself. She's going to tell us about herself, about her work, and then we're just going to really get into what inspired her to write the book and what are some of the next steps. And we'll talk about marketing, we'll talk about publishing, but more than anything right now with Kimberly, we just want to hear about you as a writer and about your book. So Kimberly, tell us about yourself.
All right, well, thank you. First off, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Super excited about this. So I guess you can kind of say I have two careers, education and writing. So I'm an instructional systems designer for the Air Force, and I basically build online classes for airmen. And I'm also a copy editor for one of the publications on base. And the other half is my writing career. So I'm a freelancer, blogger. I'm also a copy editor for a publication in Dothan, Alabama. And I'm also an entrepreneur. So I do have a freelance business, and it's called Girl You Write. And along with that, I also have a lifestyle blog for women. Same name, it's called Girl You Write. So you know, it's just kind of like a platform for women where they can kind of go and read my blogs about the different things that are happening in life. And so that in itself excites me because I love to empower women. And that's kind of where my book stems from.
I love that. So what empowers me is just knowing that you're from Alabama and I'm from Alabama. And once again, it seemed like I've interviewed several people from Alabama, which puts us on the map. And I love what you're doing with the book. Show it to us so we can take a look at what you have written. I love that cover is beautiful. And I love the idea of bloom, because that's what we're all trying to do in life, is to grow. And in my life's experiences, there have been so many books that I've read to help me get through tough times. So talk to us about what inspired you to actually write this book, Bloom.
Sure. Well, I've always wanted to be an author, so that's something that I've always dreamed about. But to be honest, it was one of those things where I also feared doing it because I felt like that I couldn't do it. I felt like I really didn't have the tools that I was able to actually produce a book out into the world. But through life, you know, we all have challenges that we have to overcome. And so I've used certain tactics and tools in my life that I have found when I'm consistent, and those things have worked for me. So for me, being a woman, I felt like it would be a good opportunity for me to share with other women some of the things that I've had to overcome. And so this book definitely was a gateway for me to do that. And one of those things where, even though this was brewing and brewing inside me for so many years, again, fear stopped me. But I was able to overcome that. And honestly, it's one of those things where I received so many signs from God that I was supposed to write this book, and I was supposed to get this out into the world. And so that was just something I could not ignore, because it was constant. He was very persistent. There were signs everywhere that I was supposed to do this. And so it came up to a point in my life where I was ready. You know, I wanted to really actually do something, complete it, and it can be useful for other women. Because sometimes when I was going through certain things in life, and, you know, I wanted to accomplish certain goals, but sometimes I just didn't know how to get there. I just didn't know how to get there because there was certain tools and tactics that I felt like if I had read or if I had knew about, that I could have gotten there. So I just kind of feel like that every woman should have a go-to guy for something. And for me, I was able to express that, you know, with this book, because this book is something that I feel that can help you break through some of those barriers that are in front of us. And I feel like it's a book where every woman can relate to, and not only women, but men as well. So I wanted to make it very relatable. I wanted it to resonate with others. I wanted it to be just basically like a conversation that I'm having with my reader, but I also wanted to have valuable takeaways and tools that they could use after they have finished reading Bloom.
Give us an example of one of those tools. I mean, give us a great example of one of the tools that we could use. I mean, in light of everything that's happening around us, we are all struggling with so much, with COVID, with the injustices that we see around us, kids at home. Life has changed a lot. And it almost feels like, when I see your cover and I see this beautiful flower, so many of us are like, we were on such a path before this all took place, and now we've had to stop, and we're worried about will we fulfill those obligations or those goals or those dreams that we've always had. So give us a little of something from your book that you feel like would be very relevant to what's happening.
Sure. Well, I will use myself for my own experience. When COVID-19, it happened, I had so many plans for my book. So I kind of felt like my inner critic was saying, you're not going to be able to publish this book. The pandemic has came. You can't travel as much. You won't be able to really get the word out about your book. And so all of these things started to go through my head. But I had to go back and focus on the things that actually got me to the point of writing my book. So some of those strategies, because I told myself, well, this goal can't die because of the pandemic. I still have to do this. I'm still going to press through, and I still have to push through to achieve this goal, because in a time such as this, I feel like you have to get very creative. And so if you can't do one thing, I always feel like there's an alternative. There's a different route that you can take. So for me, I've used things like reading different books. I strongly believe that reading others' authors' work provides you even a better platform to kind of deal with different things and write better also inside your life. One of the things I do is that I journal. That's very important. And I know people hear it all the time, and as cliche as it may sound, it's very helpful. Journaling every day helps you to get closer and closer to your goals. I'm a self-starter, so there's certain things that I may not have a clue about, but I utilize the resources. There's so many free resources around us. So the internet, I watch YouTube videos. I read different blogs. Like I said, I buy different books. I'm a firm believer in vision boards. I have a vision board hanging inside my home office here. And that's one of those things that helps me push towards my goals every day, because I can visually see it, I can internalize it. And so that has helped me tremendously with overcoming certain things in my life. So those simple tools like that, those have the biggest rewards for me personally. So, those type of things I try to implement into my life daily. I also have a gratitude journal. I practice gratitude. And even during this time, especially, it's helpful for me to shift my mindset, because once my mindset is shifted, I'm able to move forward in a more positive direction. I have more motivation. So again, those are different things that I found to be so very helpful.
And do you cover the gratitude, the vision boards and different things like that in your book?
I do.
Right.
I have so many things that I have outlined in the book. I kind of give my process, and I give examples of what I've used, how I've used them, and how those things have helped me in my life. So I give just tons of different tools and resources that you might think to yourself, well, I want to do this, but I just really don't know what I can do to get myself closer to my goal.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent.
So,
That's excellent.
Yeah,
I love that. Let's talk about the marketing and the publishing of your book. So when was the book released?
It was actually published on August 29th, and it was actually released on September 1st. So pretty excited about that. So it's been maybe almost 2 weeks now that the book has been, out into the world. And to be honest with you, throughout my journey of writing the book, I knew a little bit about the publishing process, but I didn't know a whole lot. But again, as I stated earlier, I'm a self-starter. So I dig for resources. I definitely utilize, the internet because it has all types of free information there. And my publishing journey, I did self-publish. And I'm not opposed to the traditional publishing at all. It was just a situation for me, being that it was my first book. I wanted to have total control over my book. I wanted to get my book out sooner versus later. And I think it also boils down to personal preference, what you may think is best for you at the moment. But I felt like self-publishing for Bloom was what worked best for me. Again, being my first book. But certainly, like I said, I'm not opposed to traditional publishing in the future if I see that would be the best route to go. So for the publishing process, what I did, I read a lot. Again, I looked at YouTube videos. I even talked to different authors who have published their book before. I'm also part of a women's writing community, so I was able to utilize different resources that are provided through that as well. So all of these different outlets, I just kind of compiled everything together. And that's what I use for my guide to self-publish. So the more and more I did that, I found out tons of information, moving forward. So the next time I'll be even more prepared if I decide to self-publish, my second book. And as far as the marketing aspect of it, I just try to think outside of the box with certain things, because we have to now, of course, as we've been talking about COVID, we have to think of different ways to get creative. So many things are on a virtual platform now. So what I've been doing, I've been using my social media outlets, I've been using my business newsletter, I've been utilizing emails and text messages, and also different platforms just like this that I'm on right now. And another tool that I'll be using is I'm going to be a part of a women's conference next month. So I'll be a guest speaker there, and I'll be able to, highlight my book there and make different connections there. So that's just kind of my plan, to do things that are kind of outside of the box, since that's kind of what we have to do right now.
It is. And just as a writer in general, thinking outside the box is very helpful. I love your passion for what you're doing. I've written 2 books now. My first book, I wrote it while my husband was deployed in Iraq, and he came home, and I'd written a book, and he was just like, he couldn't believe it. But I've been writing it, and I never really thought that I was going to publish. I mean, I knew I was going to publish it, but I wasn't looking to market it. I was just doing it as kind of a bucket list thing. Like, I'm going to write this book and put it on the shelf and then say, okay, I've done it, because it was what I've always wanted to do from a very young age. I wanted to be a writer. And we started, and he came home and he said, no, we're going to market this book. And we went out and we started marketing it. And so I did not take the time to learn as much about the publishing industry. I just went forth, just went out there. And when I wrote my second book, which was released in February, my approach was totally different. I said, this time I had a level of success with the first one. I did a lot of events and speaking engagements. But with this first one, I wanted to be smarter about how I marketed and how I published it. And so I did the same thing. I started reading everything. And that's one of the reasons why I created the Black Writers Workspace, because I know that there are writers out there who are doing some amazing work, but we are struggling to publish, to find, agents and publishing houses, or to even know what's the best course of action. I'm self-published. I didn't realize it until lately that my first book really was with a vanity publisher. I didn't know the difference. And now that I do, I realize that, okay, the second one is completely self-published. And so, like you said, it was a very individual, personal decision to make. There's a lot of steps in this process of publishing a book.
It really is.
It really, really is. And so this is what's so great about talking to writers. It's because of that. Now, I write, and I say this about it because it's tough to put your thoughts, your heart, your soul into writing and knowing someone else is going to read it and may not understand it or think it's not good. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't solely write for every reader because every reader is not your audience. Um,
absolutely.
I always say if I could just prick the heart of one reader who gets it, who understands it, who can learn something from it, I feel like I've done what God wanted me to do with it. So
Exactly.
talk to us a little bit about who is that person that I know you say women, is that's who you're writing for, but I think that, it's more complicated than that. Who are you
Yeah.
really writing? Who did you write this book for?
Well, I, I put my whole heart into this book. So, again, it's for the women out there that have went through certain things like me. So just to kind of give you an example, I wrote it for women who they're at a place in their life where they want to move forward, they want to achieve their goals, they have all of these things in their head that they want to do, but yet they're so fearful, and they're fearful to get out of their comfort zone. They're fearful of failure. They are fearing what other people think of them. They are telling themselves that they can't do it. But in the midst of all of this, they want it so badly, but all of these things are just circling around in their head, and that's what's stopping them. So I wrote it for the women out there that are in that place in their life where they want more, they want to be more, they just don't know how to get there. It's for those women. So, it was a point of in my life where I had to make up my mind that I was ready. I was ready to do the things that I wanted to do. And I was tired of just being in a place of complacency, of just being kind of content versus loving what I'm doing. And so I made the decision to just plant my feet in the soil and see what I could grow, basically. And so that's what I want to kind of empower others that are struggling with that are going through that right now. And so, so many times, because what happens is we talk ourselves out of everything or some things that we're very passionate about. Yet another year goes by, another 2 years, and 3 years. You're down the road 10 years later, and you still haven't tried to put your foot forward to accomplish that one thing that you want to do, or those are the 5 things that you want to do. So I wrote it for those type of readers out there that's going to, it's and the book is about evaluating yourself, also giving yourself tough love. It's about digging your heels deep and really reflecting as well, because here's the thing that I figured out. You have to be the one that's willing to work hard. No one can do it for you. I provide the platform, the tools, the tactics, maybe like a blueprint, but you have to make up in your mind that you're ready to go forward. And so and that's what it's all about. I use real life examples in the book of some of the things that I have faced. I use things through humor. I was authentic as possible. It was an opportunity for me to be vulnerable to my readers as well. I've also included scripture in the book because I feel that's something that's always helped me through life, is being strong within my faith and just knowing that God walks with me every step of the way, with everything I do. So, it's about, I'm not perfect. I try to be better today than I was yesterday. I certainly have, things that I'm still growing. But it is one of those things of, once you're ready, I think that's when you'll start to see yourself bloom and transition. And so that's what I want for readers. That's what I want my words to resonate with them so deep that it's going to change something within them. It's going to awaken something in them that's just been lying dormant for way too long. And so that's my hope, that they could take the valuable things that I've laid out in the book for them and apply it to their life and get started. No more excuses, no more waiting. You've got to get up and take the first step. That's what it's all about.
That is so excellent. And Kimberly, I think you are going to help a lot of people with your book. So you
Well,
keep writing. I look forward to learning about book 2, book 3, book 4, and seeing you grow and seeing you really be the type of inspiration that you've already become, but just continue to be that for women, because we all need mentors. We need those tactics and those tools. So thank you so much for being
Thank you.
part of this interview, and to the BWW community. This is what it's all about. It's about shining a light on our writers and giving them the support that they need. We ask that you continue to follow our group. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, and to follow our YouTube channel. So again, Kimberly, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.